Today, it takes two to tango, even if your partner is Krafton. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. Rent's due on the 1st of the month.
Unless you're paying bi-weekly, in which case it's the 2nd and 4th Thursday.
Unless you're paying decimentally, in which case on days ending in 0.
And if you're not paying at all, squatters' rights on CheckPoint are still a thing.
In a recent interview to promote the upcoming movie Alien Romulus, director Fede Alvarez has revealed an interesting tell. The movie is set up in a way that every time something bad is about to happen, you will see a phone. The Alien franchise is long in the tooth, and I think the creators are struggling to find new ways to make it scary to today's jaded audience. Oh, your main antagonist is a perfect killing machine / glistening mommy queen stuck in a will they won't they with the attractive action heroine? And the most iconic shot of the whole series is her pinning the pro tag against a wall and drooling all over the place with her 2 mouths. Barely registers with today's fucked up youths. But a telephone with no TikTok that's permanently chained to the wall? Ah! Sure, Alvarez says that the telephones are inspired by the 2014 video game Alien Isolation and how it would put emergency telephone save points before all the scary parts of the game, but we here at CheckPoint know how to twist a bullshit generational culture war into jokes, and I'll be damned if I let this opportunity pass me by.
Good news for fans of Tango Gameworks, but arguably much better news for employees of Tango Gameworks. They are not being shut down. Originally founded by Shinji Mikami, Tango Gameworks, the developers of The Evil Within, Tokyo Ghostwire, and the surprise hit Hi-Fi Rush, were announced to be unceremoniously shuttered a few months ago, along with other Bethesda studios, Arcane Austin, and Alpha Dog. Why? Well, because Microsoft just paid the GDP of Belarus to buy Activision Blizzard, and now they need to start firing people or the investors are going to get cranky. It's unclear why Bethesda studios have to be the ones shouldering this burden, especially when they've either been making great games or, understandably, unable to make a great game because they were ordered to make something totally outside their comfort zone or expertise, but Microsoft does a lot of things we don't understand. For Tango's developers, their jobs may be safe for now, but they're not necessarily going to be easier because they're being bought by Krafton, publishers of player uptones Rattlegowns, and whose biggest non-PUBG game to date is Dead Space spiritual successor Callisto Protocol, and that didn't go so great. But Krafton also bought the IP for Hi-Fi Rush with the intention of making more of that, so that's good news if you're a Hi-Fi Rush fan, and if you're a fan of The Evil Within and Tokyo Ghostwire, you probably number in the hundreds.
It's Sonic's 30th anniversary, and to celebrate, Sonic has respectfully asked Steam and the Xbox Game Store to delist his game, Sonic Generations. And why not? Metacritic only gives it a 77, placing it just below the 80 scored by Monster Hunter Generations, and just above the 74 of Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja whatever the fuck Generations. In fact, I refuse to acknowledge any Sonic title unless it equals or exceeds the 82 held by The Murder of Sonic the Hedgehog. All kidding aside, Sega's pulling the title since Sonic's /fic remaster Sonic X Shadow Generations will need that slot on the store, and Sega is holding a firm line here, stating on Twitter that Sonic Generations will still be available via bundles of other iconic Sonic titles on Steam and Xbox, and that existing owners of the title will still be able to download and play as well. Lastly, we are happy to confirm that mods on the Steam version will not be affected. So it's gone, but it's not gone if you want it, but you'd have to pay more for it, unless you've already paid for it, in which case you still have it. Got it? If not, get it before September 9th when it goes away, or on October 25th when the remaster comes out. Whichever comes first. Wait, no. Come back to me.
After 13 years of development hell, the Borderlands movie has finally come out, and it's been received about as well as you would expect a PG-13 Borderlands movie would be in 2024. Luckily, there's still been plenty of entertainment to be had, at the expense of Gearbox CEO Randy Pitchford, who's been super normal about everything. But how's the movie? Does it deserve all this derision? Or is it like most crappy movies, just aggressively mid? We sent our most thoughtful and media-literate correspondent, Cameron Lauder, out into the theater to find out.
Thanks, Kathleen. When I got out of the theater after watching Borderlands, I noticed my shirt was covered in little black fragments of vinyl. Upon closer inspection, they turned out to be from my seat delaminating, because I spent the film's 104-minute runtime writhing. Hey everyone, I saw Borderlands and cinema literally crumbled. The short version is, this is a bad film, but it's not entertainingly bad. It's also probably not the worst film of the year. It's lazy, thoughtless, ugly, and uninteresting, but it's not upsetting, it just sucks. Borderlands has dialogue because films have dialogue, but it doesn't seem to know why they have dialogue. Mostly characters explain what is happening on the screen or explain why they should be allowed to move to the next scene. It's all just content. To give Borderlands some credit, I think Cate Blanchett does pretty honest work with what she's been given. It also runs a reasonably disciplined 104 minutes. It probably could have been a lot longer. For some reason, Jamie Lee Curtis's outfit has a boob window. Well, actually, I know the reason for that, which is that Halloween came out when Eli Roth was 6 years old, and Homie played the long game. Look, I could do this for a while, but I have to believe that I have better things to do with our time than snark at something everyone has already dunked on. Instead, I want to talk about why this movie just depresses me a little bit. There's a car chase through a canyon early in the film where characters trade steering the vehicle and shooting out of the windows. It invites comparison to the canyon chase scene in Fury Road. And maybe that's not a fair comparison. Fury Road cost a lot more to make than Borderlands, but they're awfully similar scenes, not only in setting and action, but also in their role in character development. Both occur when characters who have had good reason to mistrust each other are forced to cooperate. Once Fury Road's chase begins, Max and Furiosa don't speak to each other. They coordinate wordlessly. Furiosa is smooth and precise, while Max is sharp and fast. The actors use their bodies and faces to show us that these are people who have developed completely different ways of being extremely efficient that turn out to be perfectly compatible. The chase sequence coordinates the tools available to a filmmaker to craft something that is tense and exciting and fun to watch, while also developing why the two lead characters can trust and respect one another on a subconscious level, even if they still have emotional and intellectual reasons to be suspicious. Cinema! It's tremendously powerful. In Borderlands, Lilith and Roland both hand off driving in order to shoot, all while quipping like it's 2006. It tells us that these characters don't want to cooperate. Maybe that dynamic can work, but if these are people with no reason to trust each other, why stick together? They were sincerely trying to kill each other 5 minutes ago. Borderlands never establishes the protagonist's ability or even interest in cooperation, and that feels thoughtless in an adaptation of a game with fondly remembered co-op. Fury Road's canyon chase ends with characters who have placed their trust in one another and have been rewarded for that trust. Borderlands' canyon chase ends with everyone getting a mouthful of piss. It has nothing to say. It's just content, and it sucks to sit in a theater and watch something nobody loved. And furthermore, in an age of generative content, the bar has to be higher than this. In the tradition of video game reviews, I give it an A-.
Thank you, Cameron, for that extensive and thoughtful review. And you know what it's time for now? A CheckPoint check-in, because it's always nice to talk with your friends and see how they're doing. Beesh, how are you?
I've been having trouble sleeping lately, and I'm burning all my spoons right now. How about you?
Oh, I live with two intrusive thoughts that have names and personalities, and they wake me up every morning and sing me to sleep every night. Paul, how are you?
I'm good.
Great.
Awesome. That's so good
Nice.
for you. I'm happy.
Good job.
Yeah. Coming up, Baldur's Gate 3 won the Hugo Award for Best Interactive Work at Worldcon this past weekend, in what some are calling a premier achievement in narrative fiction. As if Baldur's Gate 3 didn't already have over 30,000 hits on AO3.
I definitely want to stay for the nut drop.
The nut drop. Yeah, I should have read that. Maybe you should have read it a little slightly
That's
more
all right.
slowly, but that's probably fine.
It's going to be good.
But yeah, Graham did look up how many hits Baldur's Gate 3 got on AO3. 30,000.
That's pretty good. That's
That's a lot.
it feels that's something to be proud of.
How many are tagged Asterion? That's the real question. Good news for fans of Tango Gameworks, but arguably
Sorry, 1 sec. I'm just going to adjust your camera slightly.
no good news for Tango Gameworks. Fuck you.
Anything strike you weird about the news this week? Because everything seemed pretty like straightforward, kind of this sucks and this is weird, and I didn't really have many thoughts.
No, everything seemed fairly straightforward to me, but I really only did one story that Graham wrote, so...
Yeah. At time of recording, I didn't actually get to see Cameron do his read, so
No,
I'll be
he's gonna do
watching.
it
Yeah, later.
He's going to do it at time of recording. He's going to do it actually like literally as soon as we're done because he's in the office.
Awesome. We should get the hell out of his way so we can get in here then.
All right. Well, you know what? Thanks to Heather who gets these online. Thanks to you for commenting. If you thought anything was interesting in the news, tell us in the comments below because obviously Beach hasn't been sleeping and I've been going mad. So
Thank you for those who support us on YouTube and Patreon and everything. And if you're a YouTube member, you're going to see your name pop up in a few seconds here. Take care. Sonic's /fic remaster, Sonic X Shadows Generations, will... I don't want to do that again because you don't say shadows, you just say shadow. And I don't want people making fun of me for not giving a shit about Sonic.
who would, Beach? Who would?